All right, so getting back into it, what do I call it? Since we actually have to focus up talking about like Superman's struggles, talking about all the things we went through. The first scene is Superman crashing down into what I would imagine is near or just maybe referencing Fortress of Solitude. Just anytime I see Superman,
anytime he's in the Arctic.
He's in the Arctic, something like that. But he's injured, he's bleeding, things like that. And like that, who is he going against? Like I think that actually is, because like it doesn't seem like they're shying away from Superman being strong by any means. Like I think one of the best balances of Superman being strong, but also like fallible or having some weaknesses is Justice League animated series Superman. Where like, every once in a while he'll get hit by a robot, strong robot, but like, and can do some damage. But we don't know what he's going against, which it seems very, it's a teaser trailer, which seems very intentional. But I do like that being the first shot, because it does seem very telling. Like that's not like a random choice they picked. I think they're like, hey, we're introducing a new Superman, so he literally crashes into our lives the way the trailer does. But also, what's he going against? And like the first shot is him asking for help, which I like a lot. Him whistling for Crypto, whistling for home, which seems like with a lot of heroes, you don't see that. You always see like heroes standing up. You always, except for Aquaman, he said. But they have a lot of heroes being like, oh, I'm the one guy saved. But like having him start from a low point and being like, all right, what is he going at? Superman asking for help and kind of having no qualms asking for help. I like a lot. I think that's a very great first shot.
Well, in the defense of that, he was calling for his best friend.
Exactly.
Best friend. So but there is some lore that I need to get clarity. Does Superman bleed? Because what's happened is the only time that,
That's a Batman line.
No,
that's
literally what he said in Snyder.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just very funny.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have a mentality of Batman. I guess. But they showed him when he was in that position of being down that there was specks of blood. And that was a big thing in the original Christopher Reeves thing when he gave up his powers and then got punched in the nose, by a bully guy. He was shocked by seeing his blood for the first time, and it was a very emotional moment. And he kind of freaked out. He actually, when he lost his powers, he reverted to almost a cowardly Clark Kent.
I mean, that would make sense. That would make, if you have
first time ever feeling pain like
fly,
that,
and next thing you know something hurts you, that would be terrifying.
I guess so.
It's like it's the first time it's like experiencing emotion for a first time, and I imagine. But what do you guys think about the trailer itself? Just things that stood out to you.
Okay.
All right. So honestly, I kind of want to just go off and just say Mr. Terrific being in like the main, like a main film sounds fantastic to me. I'm not going to like, I don't know if he's going to be the place of Batman in this, right? But I feel as if this kind of shows the true side of Metropolis, because he always was more metropolitan to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Metropolitan.
Metropolitan. But I'm very excited to see what he actually has to offer in this.
So as far as I know, this is something that James Gunn put out as like an idea of what his DC, because he's going to be heading the new DC universe, which is going to be very similar to how Marvel did it. Like it's just franchise. Movie after movie after movie, all going to be interconnected. Is the idea. The way James Gunn is doing it is they're not introducing Superman like origin story. Apparently, this is supposed to, as far as I know, Mr. Terrific or Hawk, or some of those characters are supposed to be a part of the Justice Society that's already established. And now Superman's going to be either introduced or kind of already known, but like joining that. I don't know, but it's the idea that Metropolis already has some superheroes. It's very much DC, like he's going comic book. So Superman's not the first superhero they've ever seen in the world. Like it's not an origin story. The Justice Society or Hall of Justice or Super Friends kind of adjacent
Justice League of America.
Justice League of America is going to be kind of already about in this world. And that's why we have so many people, which is interesting enough, which I was going to comment on, Guy Gardner, which is the Green Lantern character.
Okay.
Which is known to be the jerk of Green Lanterns, and a very interesting choice to put him first rather than Hal Jordan or John Stewart.
Okay, no. Maybe, I mean, not to prolong it. First of all, if you're enjoying this conversation, and if you're a guy or a gardener and you're watching this, was that pretty good?
That was very good.
Thank you very
Bravo.
much. And we want you to like and subscribe and put into the comments. Please comment. We're at 113 subscribers.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, we're going to be able to go live after we get 500. So please get us to 500 and comment and let us know what you like about this conversation and any other superhero conversation. Okay.
That was great.
So continue.
You were saying something about
I was asking Guy Gardner. I don't think I know him as much as the other guy, and I know he's a jerk, but tell me about him.
He's less known. I can't get into all because I don't know Guy Gardner that well.
Right. He was the third Green Lantern kind of introduced, and not including the one that actually had
Kyle
the cape.
Rayner, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Kyle Rayner is the new.
Was Kyle the third, or was it?
I thought Kyle Rayner was the third one.
Okay, then Guy Gardner was the fourth.
Might be.
All right, I'm losing track.
What about when's John Stewart?
John Stewart was the second one introduced, right? In terms of wearing, from the Rings of Oa was the second one.
Ooh.
Yeah, Hal Jordan and John Stewart 1 and 2. I don't remember the Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner switch, but those are other Green Lanterns. But I'm glad you brought up the technically original Green Lantern. Dude, there's a Green Lantern that wore, as you might know, red first and had a giant green cape and had an actual lantern and not a ring. He had blonde hair. He's an old, he was the Green Lantern that was technically, because Green Lantern had a couple weaknesses. He was weak to yellow,
right,
and wood for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wood.
Really? He had a weakness to wood for some reason, and that was that one. There's a lot of, I don't know the original stuff around it, but the idea that's going around is they're using Guy Gardner as a replacement for that, because essentially the way it happened was DC had a character called Green Lantern was not from Oa, not
it was more magically inclined,
and then they got and Hal Jordan became so popular that they essentially just got rid of the other guy, but they never did any canon stuff. So he's always been loosely part of the DC universe without. So then it doesn't really matter. But there's people are suggesting that they're using Guy Gardner as that original dude because because James Gunn is also introducing a movie, or I think a series of with Green Lantern. It's going to be Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and they're doing a buddy cop thing with them. So
really,
excellent.
That's part of the thing.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
I really am disappointed because I know people have really taken. They didn't like the Ryan Reynolds. Is it Ryan Reynolds?
Ryan Reynolds.
I still had fun with that. I didn't dislike it as much as some of you Puritans.
I think it's I understand enjoying the film or movie, but because there's so much detail and lore, especially with I do think getting a film right and getting for people who really care makes, because you can always movies are fun, so you can always throw a movie and be it's fun,
right?
You can watch an objectively bad movie and be this was fun to watch.
Okay, I guess
you know what I mean? But
if
you want it to land and an audience and you pay homage and respect to the audience, because there's some things you don't like about the Star Trek film that came out.
Oh well, that was different. That was objectively horrible.
Case in point.
Move on. Going on this.
Exactly.
He's like, I like this. Well, that one was bad. Yeah, there was a lot to do with the Ryan Reynolds one, particularly with the introduction of Parallax. I think there was a lot of lore that was just completely skipped, right? And particularly with Ryan Reynolds, Hal Jordan being introduced as a trainee, right? On the in the first 45 minutes, he was being, beaten up by Kilowog, you know what I mean? That's the entire time, and then he takes on this entire intergalactic issue, right, all by himself. I understand the whole point was to say oh, my will subverts all kind of chaos and everything like that, but at the same time, there's a lot more that needed to be thrown into the Hal Jordan character that just was not there.
Okay.
But you know what? To bring it back, I'm glad you mentioned it, because that's I think one of the things that gets in the way of a lot of superhero films, because superhero films, no matter how popular they are, because they've become obviously way more popular, honestly, since Marvel, and they've kind of fluctuated in terms of people being superhero fatigue, but they usually are blockbusters. That's what people call it. But usually are blockbusters. However, I think Hollywood / mainstream audiences have always had a hard time being superheroes are nerdy. How do we make them cool? How do we make them actually care about these characters, right? And the reason why I say that is because the Green Lantern thing, a lot of jokes in that movie about how corny Green Lantern was. Because they try to do that self-referential, like, hey, we know this is kind of corny, and if I ever say it first, then it makes me sound cooler. Like there's a lot of like kind of shooting yourself in the foot in film. Where it feels like James Gunn is really leaning into this is comic book. Because when's the last time you got Crypto in a Superman film? Exactly. And it is hard to pull off for someone to be like, it's a doll, but also Superman, like that's dumb. But like he's leaning in and being like, this is an earnest Superman. This is an earnest story. This is an earnest The Daily Bugle looks amazing. Because
really, I didn't.
To me, oh my God, did I say Daily Planet?
The Daily Planet.
Daily Planet.
Daily Planet. Right.
I can't talk anymore.
Like, no, you're fine. Like, you're like. I want to say, in terms of the interior of the building, it looks like a good office space, right? But I have to see the entirety of the building.
No, it's like one for one. If you've seen like the comics, like it's like laid out.
Was the Golden Globe on top of it too?
I didn't showed it.
I might have missed that, but I did. I kind of saw it, but I.
Right, but
that was the building that was falling, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
No.
Oh, yeah, okay. Go.
I only wanted to say this for Green Lantern. I'm going right back to Superman. Like the whole thing, particularly about the movie with Ryan Reynolds, I think also the issue with it was the casting, right? Not saying that Ryan Reynolds is not a bad actor. He's a fantastic actor, right? But he was not Hal Jordan, in my opinion, right? But moving on beyond that, going back to this thing, like I think with Superman, there was a lot going into it, right? And I'm okay if James Gunn is going to write it the way he's done Suicide Squad, like you said, or even Guardians of the Galaxy, Creature Commandos, right? They're, like he's used to dealing a lot and kind of keeping true to character, right? So my thing is with it being balanced, are we going to get enough of these characters, right, to understand what they're facing, right? Are we going to get enough of what they're facing to understand the full threat of it all, or is it all going to be batted away?
Well,
right?
I do think he's using it to introduce the DC cinematic universe. So it looks like it's going to be bigger. But also, I would just argue, I'm not sure if you guys remember Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Yes.
The third one?
Yes.
Kind of.
I remember that it was a bigger film. There's a lot they did. It focused on a lot of Rocket Raccoon, things like that. But like, it was, Guardians of the Galaxy is sometimes known to be the more jokier version of.
Right.
However, it was a very deeply emotional thing. I think he's the kind of guy that I trust to be like, I can have, because Superman is a lighthearted character. So I'm not saying there should be jokes in the film, but like there should be levity in it. Like when you see Superman right on screen, you should be like, oh my gosh, Superman should show up differently than Batman. Let me put it that way.
And
Interesting.
I do agree, but again, like with Guardians of the Galaxy, the Volume 3, right? There were layers to it. Yeah. All right, we already understand what the Guardians were. They were introduced in the first, right? And then we kind of expounded on the lore of particular ones in the second one, primarily with Ego, right? And in the third one, we talk about more about the mystery of what Rocket Raccoon was, and it was kind of interesting. Like they started, it was kind of like the PETA movie, if you will, right? Because of all the animals that were captured and experimented on, right? But at the same time, right, the reason why there's so much emotional connection to it is because we finally understand like a changing of hands, right? We also understand like a character who never really felt like he was in place, find a place officially because he was rooted to his origin, right? And that was where the central emotional piece came from, all right? Everything else around it was kind of noisy, right? I guess. But if we focus on the Rocket Raccoon aspect of it, right, then we understand, there was a straight track onto where this film was going.
I think I'm just saying, as a director, I trust him to make that balance.
Oh no, I don't doubt it. But I'm saying, like, if you're going to be introducing all these characters, I'm not going to expect an origin for Guy Gardner. I'm not going to expect an origin for
it looks to
Hawkgirl.
It looks to me that
it's going to be there.
It looks to me that what they're trying to do is give the audience a comic book to read.
Right.
You know, like in other words, maybe in other words, it's as though we've read the previous comics, and now we're kind of in comic number 4, because we already know, I mean, I can't see another Superman origin story.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're picking up, and so we take, and I like the idea of that. I don't not necessarily need to see everybody's, because you guys know I don't like having my bad guys have a backstory. I don't want to understand them.
Right.
Like Lex Luthor is bad. I want him to be bad. All the bad guys need to be bad.
I'm evil because I don't wash my hands.
That's the exact point though I'm trying to make though, because like the tale between Superman and Lex Luthor is as old as time itself. Right. But quite literally, like you already said, like, oh, LexCorp, some shenanigans is going to happen, right? But when it comes down to like the impact that they have on Metropolis, right, or the impact that they have in society as portrayed in the film, right? I want to know, is Guy Gardner going to be like, hey, I'm Guy, and then that's all you're going to get from him? Or is it going to be like, not only, like, the reason why you put up with Guy is because of this, right? Not only is he a jerk, but he also like him because he has this, right? The reason why we have Hawkgirl is because of this reason, right? She doesn't tell us much about her past, but because she's trying to figure it out herself, right? But she is valuable because of this, right? I don't want it to just be a spectacle of capes and feathers everywhere, right? I want it to be a thing of like, I want it to be a thing of like, okay, the reason why, if it's going to be like, Superman is going to be introduced into the society, right? Everyone from Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, even Lex Luthor are going to say, who is this one guy to us?
Maybe.
Right? And then there should be able to all expound, like, okay, I think he's a good guy. Guy Gardner's like, I like Superman. Another guy who could actually deal in the heavy punches, as an example. Well, I like the mystery, Hawkgirl says, right? Like, maybe he should have...
You're writing it now.
Right? Like, maybe he doesn't want to reveal all about his past like I do, right? And then Lex Luthor's like, I hate the guy. He's not the Everman that he purports to be, right? And then Mr. Terrific's like, maybe there's more to me the eye of this guy, computer, right? Let's analyze him more, right? I ain't Batman, so I'm going to give him more space to grow, right? But at the same time, I think we should definitely realize that there's weaknesses, right? And maybe there might be a there might be a tie-in between Mr. Terrific and Lex Luthor saying, I agree, he's not the Everman guy. We should experiment on him, but at the same time, we shouldn't exploit his rights to be a human if he wants to be human, as an example, right?
Wow,
it's a good example.
Can I just say this? I love it when I see your passion. I'm just thinking, just as a dad. I don't know.
I appreciate it, but I was saying, like, there should, like,
I appreciate it.
That's what it is. Like, every character doesn't necessarily need to be written in for 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm just saying, like, there should be enough of the character for you to build upon your own persuasions on the character without knowing them.
I agree. I just, at this point, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe I'll just do some of that.
I'm sorry.
But let me put this out there. I dare say, gentlemen, isn't it exactly how we read comics? If you get into a comic, you may be in like number 129 of a comic, and you see a character who is in the comic, which was introduced in, so he might be a jerk in that particular panel.
Right.
And you may ask the question, well, why is that person a jerk? Well, how do you find out? In the next movie, James Gunn is going to find out. So I'm good with seeing a jerky Guy Gardner pop up and not know why, and knowing that watch Guy Gardner in James Gunn Superman 2 or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
And
I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna. Well, one thing you raised your eyebrow at when I was saying that I think Superman should be introduced differently than Batman. You said that was interesting, so I want to know your thoughts on that.
Because you said that Superman has a more comical flair.
No, I was saying James Gunn
has a satirical
but I
kind
think
of
it
humor.
works with Superman because there's, I think, introducing levity. What I'm saying is, I don't think Superman should be making wisecrack jokes like Spider-Man.
That
should be taking
I would love to avoid.
Yeah, I'm not saying unseriously, but I am saying I trust him with levity.
I disagree with that. And now I'm going to get very specific. I'm very specific to what I'm saying. I think Clark Kent should have some levity, but not Superman. Because Superman becomes the counter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so in other words, when Superman comes on the scene, so that was what Christopher Reeve's thing was.
Yeah.
He had a very comical, version of Clark Kent to offset the Superman character, and I like that.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying I think that you could. I trust James Gunn with that balance. Even the first Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Yes, there was already the established Marvel universe, but we really did just introduce the Guardians of the Galaxy characters in that one movie, and I would say it was very well balanced. That's where we got Rocket Raccoon making that whole like I'm going to take the leg joke kind of thing, which very quickly establishes all right, this guy's kind of a jerk, without getting away of Peter Quill's like he's clearly the main character. Right. You know what I mean? And I don't know. At this point, I would say James Gunn, if you watch his stuff, is a very consistent director, so I know kind of what to expect. However, as far as, and this is what a lot of directors do, he seems to be an actual fan of Superman, seems like he actually wants to, and him leading this far into comic books at least makes me trust that he's going to treat that character, if not perfectly well, versus with Zack Snyder, which that whole like last Henry Cavill thing, a lot of what he was trying to do is subvert what Superman was about. And not like as I don't think he was doing it antagonistically, but I just think he thought Superman was boring, so he tried to make him cooler, which sometimes gets in the way.
Yeah, I can understand that. I will say with the Guy Gardner portrayal, even though it was just a few seconds there, him walking into an atrium of any kind, and just smirking as he's doing I think that captured the character perfectly, but again, I don't know where the writing is going to go.
That's the actor is Nathan Fillion, and Nathan Fillion's great. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's another dude who's also like, he's a lot of good range, but he also has played comical characters, and Guy Gardner is a comical dude. Okay. He's not like ha-ha funny, he's just like, I'm going to be aggressive and I can't read the room funny. I think Nathan Fillion can. I think it's a great cast.
How much time we got, guys?
We got about 10 minutes left.
We got good. I didn't want to miss out on anything. I'm looking forward to seeing this because I like the idea of seeing, a little bit more of the Superman that I grew up with.
Yes.
So far as the the Super Friends type.
Right.
And hopefully the villains will be just like that.
Right.
Give you that kind of comic booky thing, and because we enjoy that.
I just thought about, guys, please like, subscribe, and comment. But comment specifically on if you want to see us do a watch through with our pops on the Christopher Reeve Superman.
That would be nice. Do that. Actually,
we watch it. We show some clips here and there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate.
Yeah, because I've watched it with you before. I remember watching it, but I was young, and I have not seen it in such a long time where I only remember bits and pieces of it.
No. That's fine. I love the idea. We probably won't do the entirety of the film.
Well, I'm saying clips. We'll show clips, and they'll see our reaction to this. And now, hopefully, you guys would watch the movie on your own. But if you know the Christopher Reeves movies, we'd like to be able to discuss, and we'll watch it, and you'll see our comments on that.
Well, if you're going to go that far, gentlemen, what about sharing some of my old cartoons, such as Aquaman? My old Aquaman.
I love that. Let's do that. Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna tell you what. We spent a day one day and we watched my old Aquaman cartoons.
A.B. Repeat would be the hero.
Oh my gosh! Forever. And I'm gonna tell you what. These guys mocked my Aquaman so poorly, but
lovingly critiqued.
But I have to tell you, I realized that the animation wasn't as good as I thought it was when I was a kid. It was like
what is
pretty bad.
There's two things. Talking about like superhero struggles and stuff. The things I remember the most about it is like. Aquaman first felt very Flintstones. Just by the nature of how many animals came to also help him. And and that is his power.
Right.
But the one thing I remember specifically is like there's a submarine. I'm going to say this to Nell specifically. I need to talk to this. I know you don't care about this, but I got to say this to someone. There is a submarine going down. So, people are almost crashing, dying, all that kind of thing. And what Aquaman does with his superpowers, instead of saving it, lifting it back up, he calls a turtle, like a giant sea turtle, and the sea turtle plugs the hole that was making the submarine sink. And that's how he solves the problem. The sea turtle is just there now. Sea turtle, I'm saying to the audience, the sea turtle is just on that submarine. I don't know where they're going. I know what they're doing. I don't know if they're okay. That's not how sea turtles work.
Sea turtles save lives,
but man was Aquaman satisfied with I've saved the day. That
sea turtle saved
lives. Sea turtle was like, it's a living. Right. I
don't know. No, from Aquaman to Pirates of the Caribbean, sea turtle saves lives. They have been a canonical plug for everything. For every any type of hero.
The thing that was most disappointing to me is I remember telling them, because in my Aquaman, and it was Filmation that made him. I can't remember what it was, and I would tell them, I said, because at the time Aquaman would be able to go underwater and he would make a ball of water, and it was like
never made
bomb, and he throws it, and then boom, you know, and it explodes. And I was like, man, you know, because it's hard water, you know.
Hard water.
And he's able to, you know.
Which is why purification of your water is always important. Make sure you filter every single thing that comes out of your tap.
But when we saw it again, I was so disappointed because he makes this thing. Because I remember it, boom. It was a... It's like, oh man!
Looks like he hit him with Alka-Seltzer.
All the bubbles at the end of it. I'm like, what are they? They're all underwater swimmers too, so a little bit of that should not have been an issue at all.
It was like some performance anxiety for you.
Oh, like, hilarious. Oh no, I love the fact that like I understand one of his weaknesses is the fact that he really should not be out of the water at all. But for 2 minutes, you know, like of dehydration, right? And then he just faints. Right, like to a point, like I think like one of his other sea friends had to splash water on him for him to wake back up again, and then he goes back into the water. But like I found that
Aquaman really is one of those superheroes that sounds cool on paper. Like I give it to you. Like, all right, this guy's just a strong Superman underwater, and you're trying to do a whole new environment thing. But you step like 2 seconds outside of that, he's a really hard guy to work with.
Yeah. But you know, but he.
Ooh, sorry, that just reminded me of something.
What's that?
I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to.
Please, no.
The new guy that's playing Aquaman in the DC universe.
Yes.
He's you know what I'm talking about. The dude who most recently played Aquaman.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa.
He is now playing.
Okay, go for it.
I'm sorry.
No. Say, go for it.
He's now playing Lobo.
Yeah, they casted him as Lobo.
Okay, makes sense because I think he got a little bigger.
Yes,
he's bigger than what.
Right, but he always had that energy though.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's a great
But I think he's gotten more of the Lobo energy in his late, you know, like. Is recently.
Right. I think it was actually presented to him beforehand, right? And I think I saw in an interview, like he was actually presented the idea of playing Lobo earlier, right? But he actually went into a rehearsal thinking that he was going to go in for Lobo, right? But was given Aquaman for the sake of the film.
I never heard
that. Right. But like I think he was always excited to play Lobo.
Agreed.
Now he's finally able to play. He's going to give him that energy. He's going to do it. I am excited for it.
That makes sense. That's a good casting. Yeah, I like that.
So,
you know, but
I was excited about that.
Yeah, but so what does that mean? So they're going to cast a new Aquaman?
Well,
no. That as far as I know, the Zack Snyder. So things that we saw is Zack Snyder had Jason Momoa as Aquaman. He had Ben Affleck as Batman. We had Henry Cavill as Superman. We had Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Black Adam, Flash. They had that whole universe is done. It's gone. It ended. It's dead. And technically, the Flash universe is supposed to be the thing that like ended it, and we also the Flash movie. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So James Gunn is the reintroduction, and I think there's a couple things where like they're picking something. So Peacemaker is going to stay. I think it's because that's James Gunn's character. Peacemaker is played by John Cena.
Yep.
I had to do this to remember. John
you couldn't
Cena.
see it, right?
And then and some of the Suicide Squad stuff is there. And I think they're trying to get the guy who's played Batman most recently. I can't even think of his name. Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson's Batman. But that is technically independent.
Right.
So, like, I think they might try to pull him in, but we don't know.
That would be an interesting.
Right. Well, listen, from where when you're watching this now, we're only going to be some weeks away from it coming out. Is that correct?
I think it's coming out in the summer. So I think
July 11th. So if we're
we'll be definitely a couple of months out.
A couple of months out, and we're going to be looking forward to it. So please, if in fact you go to see it and enjoy it, and come back and see if we're explaining it the way you like it, because we're excited about we like the comic books.
And if there's more James Gunn trailers coming out, we'll react to those too.
Indeed. All right. Anything else? How much more time we got?
Just about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Any last thoughts, fellas?
Actually, I think I'm all settled up. Right.
Okay.
And I hope you all enjoy the film when it comes out. Tell me what you think about the plot and if I wrote it well enough for you.
All right. Yes, sir.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Various Fields coming back at you with more Various Fields episodes every Sunday. Please like, subscribe, and tell all your friends. Thank you for getting us to 113 subscribers.
Yes. No way to top that. Thank you so much for being with us. Fellas, I love you as always, and we love you for watching us. Thank you for watching Various Fields. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
A bird for a plane.